He held his breath as the glass elevator glided toward the top floor, his worn leather shoes feeling completely out of place on the polished marble. For 3 years, Marcus had survived on double shifts, lukewarm coffee, and the quiet laughter of his 7-year-old daughter. Raising Maya alone in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment meant every penny was accounted for before it even hit his bank account. So when a temp agency offered him a high-paying assistant role at Vance Global, he took it without asking a single question. He just needed to pay off Maya's upcoming dental surgery and fix the leak in their kitchen ceiling. He had no idea whose floor he was stepping onto. The elevator doors parted with a soft chime, revealing a sleek, floor-to-ceiling glass office overlooking the city skyline. Standing behind the massive obsidian desk was a woman in a tailored cream suit, her dark hair pinned back with effortless elegance. Marcus froze, his heart slamming against his ribs like a trapped bird. It was Nia. 10 years ago, they were just 2 college kids sharing cheap takeout on his apartment fire escape, promising each other the world. Then her family moved away. The world pulled them in opposite directions, and Marcus was left with nothing but memories and a heavy heart. Now, she was the recently appointed chief executive officer of a billion-dollar logistics empire, and he was standing in front of her in a $20 suit. Nia turned around, holding a tablet, her professional smile instantly melting into utter shock. "Marcus," she breathed, the corporate mask dropping completely. He swallowed hard, fighting the instinct to turn around and walk straight back into the elevator. He could not afford to lose this job, but he also could not bear the thought of her seeing how far he had fallen. "Miss Vance," Marcus said, keeping his voice strictly professional despite the tremor in his throat. "I was told the executive team needed temporary administrative support." Nia stood motionless for a long moment, her dark eyes tracing the tired lines around his eyes and the slight fray on his collar. She knew what he was trying to do, and she could feel the thick wall he was desperately trying to build between them. Instead of calling HR or asking questions, she set her tablet down and walked slowly toward him. "You do not have to call me that," she said softly, her voice carrying a warmth that instantly undid years of icy distance. "I'm just doing my job," Marcus replied, taking a small step back to maintain his distance. "Tell me what you need, and I will handle it." Nia saw the guardrails he had put up, but she also saw the quiet strength that had drawn her to him all those years ago. She looked down at his clipboard, then back into his eyes, making a decision that would change both of their lives. "My previous assistant was reassigned this morning," Nia said, her tone suddenly firm and decisive. "I am placing you as my primary personal assistant, effective immediately." Marcus stared at her, his jaw clenching as panic surged through him. Working on the same floor was hard enough, but sitting right outside her door 8 hours a day felt like a cruel form of torture. "Nia, I do not think that is a good idea," he muttered, dropping the formal title for a fraction of a second. "It is settled," she said calmly, leaning against her desk. "Unless you do not want the triple pay rate that comes with the executive role." The mention of the salary hit Marcus right in the chest, instantly bringing Maya's face to the front of his mind. He could pay for the surgery, fix the apartment, and maybe even buy Maya the new bike she had been begging for. "When do I start?" Marcus asked quietly, accepting his fate. "Right now," Nia said, a tiny, subtle smile touching the corner of her lips. The first 3 weeks were an exhausting exercise in silent emotional warfare. Marcus arrived an hour early every morning, had her calendar organized perfectly, and kept every conversation strictly about work. He never mentioned his personal life, never talked about his apartment, and never brought up his daughter. He acted like a shadow, efficient and distant, trying his best to protect what was left of his pride. But Nia was not paying attention to just the work, she was paying attention to him. She noticed how he skipped lunch to stay at his desk, how he checked his phone nervously every day at 3 in the afternoon, and how tired his shoulders looked by 5. One rainy Thursday evening, a sudden storm trapped half the building inside, shutting down the transit lines. Marcus was frantically pacing in the hallway outside her office, holding his phone to his ear with white knuckles. Nia stepped out of her office, sensing the sudden spike in his anxiety. "Is everything okay, Marcus?" she asked softly. He looked at her, his composure completely shattering under the weight of the moment. "The after-school program closed early because of the weather," Marcus said, his voice cracking with desperation. "Maya is sitting in the lobby with the security guard, and I cannot get a ride across town in this storm." Nia did not ask who Maya was, nor did she hesitate for a single second. "Get your coat," she ordered, grabbing her umbrella from the corner. "We're taking my car." 10 minutes later, Nia was driving her sleek black SUV through the pouring rain, while Marcus sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window in agonizing silence. When they finally pulled up to the school, Marcus rushed inside and emerged a minute later, holding a small girl wrapped in an oversized yellow raincoat. He carried her gently into the back seat, wiping the rain from her cheeks with the sleeve of his jacket. "Daddy, is this your friend's car?" Maya asked in a sweet, clear voice that filled the entire vehicle. Marcus hesitated, looking into the rearview mirror, only to find Nia watching them with an expression so tender it made his chest ache. "Yes, baby," Marcus murmured. "This is my boss, Miss Nia." Nia turned around in her seat, smiling warmly at the little girl. "It is nice to meet you, Maya," Nia said gently. "Your dad talks about you all the time." Maya's eyes lit up. "He talks about you too. He has a picture of you too in an old book in his room." Marcus's face burned with intense embarrassment, his eyes dropping to his hands as he wished the floor would open up and swallow him whole. Nia froze for a second, a soft gasp catching in her throat before she turned back around to focus on the road. She did not say a word for the rest of the drive, but the silence between them was no longer cold. It was electric. When they arrived at his modest apartment building, Nia insisted on walking them up to the front door to make sure they got in safely. As Maya ran inside to take off her wet boots, Marcus stood in the doorway, unable to look Nia directly in the eyes. "Thank you," he said softly, his voice heavy with years of unspoken words. "You did not have to do that." "Marcus, look at me," Nia requested quietly. He slowly raised his head, meeting her gaze for the first time in weeks without his professional guard up. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, tears glistening at the edges of her eyes. "Why did you let me think you forgot about us?" Marcus took a deep, shaky breath, the weight of his reality crashing down on him. "Look at where I live, Nia," he said, gesturing faintly toward the dim hallway. "Look at my life. I am fighting every single day just to keep a roof over my daughter's head. When you became who you are, I didn't want to hold you back or bring you down with my mess." Nia stepped closer, reaching out to gently touch his arm, her cool fingers resting against his sleeve. "You were never a mess to me, Marcus," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I didn't build all of this to be alone. I built it wishing you were standing right beside me." The front door creaked open a little wider, and little Maya peeked out, holding a somewhat crumpled drawing of 3 people standing under a bright yellow sun. "Daddy, is Miss Nia staying for dinner?" Maya asked innocently. "We have enough mac and cheese for 3. Marcus looked down at his daughter, then back at the woman who had held his heart for a decade without ever knowing it. A real, genuine smile finally broke across his face, melting away years of strain and exhaustion. "Only if she wants to," Marcus said softly, holding the door open. Nia smiled through her tears, stepped over the threshold, and realized that after 10 long years, she was finally right where she belonged.